We're in May of 2025, so it's time to get back on track with scheduling and cover all the pickups from April. First up are two pieces which are both not that commonly seen, one because of how new it is and the other because of how old and potentially scarce. On the left is France's new BME, or Bariolage Multi-Environmental, which translates to multi-environmental coloring, aka a multicam clone. Seemingly with only Ireland topping them as far as anger and frustration with a country discontinuing use of an original pattern for a multicam derivative, BME is already in the process of replacing France's CCE patterns, which have been in use in one way or another since the early 1990s. From afar, the pattern does look very reminiscent of multicam, but up close you can see the subtle differences ranging from its color to its shape designs, which even seem to have something of jagged edges, giving them an almost subtle digital look to the unique sticks and triangles embedded into it throughout. Next to it are a pair of pretty close to short shorts, which look like a fashion piece and probably are, but what's interesting about it is the connection to France and possibly the Central African Republic. Bearing a leopard print of 3 colors, this design, or one extremely close to it, were worn by presidential guard units of Jean Bedel Bokassa, who held a lavish coronation for himself and his wife in 1977. Costing millions and taking inspiration from the Napoleonic era, France helped foot the bill and even provided large quantities of support and may have even helped produce and provide clothing and uniforms for it. This particular piece was made in France, and though research is still needed and it's just a theory, the fabric may have been left over from a contract for the uniforms, as the cloth itself is very reminiscent of Zaire's Leopard uniforms, which have been suggested to have some connections to the CAR's version. Hopefully more info on it will pop up over time, but either way, thank you to Teledrev for offering up these pieces. Still within Europe is a great Italian Sep 2 Kevlar helmet. A fairly close clone of the US Pasget, these helmets first made their way to Italian forces around the mid-1990s, and over the last few years have hit surplus markets, though often in pretty rough shape, and sometimes even in completely unfinished ones too. The chin strap and suspension systems on these were a little bit of a step up from their US counterparts, though the rear retention portion of them have changed some, with a few, such as this one, being a little weird and somewhat inconvenient. But thanks to the few versions, it gives dedicated collectors something to focus on. A big thanks to Nick for sending this one in. Next up are 2 more items from 2 separate countries, Russia and Ukraine. It seems frequently when a Ukrainian piece is found or sourced, a Russian one is as well, to help balance it out, and vice versa. But either way, on the left is a slightly older style officer's cap for the Ukrainian National Guard, bearing their first model variant of the MM14 pattern in a unique grayish blue-green color, sometimes referred to as swamp. Opposite it is a uniform bearing a camouflage pattern with colors that aren't too far off, which was printed in both woodland and urban versions. Seeing quite a few variants through the 1990s and into the 2000s, these were frequently worn by internal and specialty troops associated with the MVD and later on National Guard, such as Oman or the Special Purpose Mobile Unit, which this set appears to be from based on the shoulder patches which read Russian Internal Troops and Special Forces. To the sellers of these, I didn't catch your names, but thank you, and I'll catch you guys at the next show. Finally, and perhaps most strangely, is a uniform that in a way has 3 different countries associated with it: Ireland, Great Britain, and Ukraine. Upon initial inspection, you'll notice the obvious Irish DPM, or paddiflage design, which makes you think Ireland. However, to those with a keen eye, you may discern the cut is that of the British PCS, or Personal Clothing System, their current system for much of their armed forces, but looking inside are tags which have a contract number stating OP Interflex, which is the ongoing training operation held within the UK to train and partially equip Ukrainian forces. Most OP Interflex pieces that have come out on the collector's market bear cuts of British PCS pieces, but bear the MM14 camouflage, but this one is peculiar, as Ireland isn't really involved in the effort, and even if they were, wouldn't likely provide their camouflage, leaving this set as something of an oddity. A few have appeared over the last 2 to 3 years, with some collectors speculating that these were made by a contractor for the UK using leftover fabric, as for a time it produced uniforms for Ireland as well. Additionally, early on, before MM14 uniforms were produced for OP Interflex, other patterns such as US 3-color Desert and Woodland were provided. Whatever the case though, it's another bizarre but fascinating piece. On that note though, we've come to the end of another one. As always, we'll return next month, same place, and roughly same time. Until then.